welcome to our trial site here at Kooloonong. This trial is part of a new GRDC project we're working on, which is looking at improving the profitability of grain legume production in Victoria, and also providing long-term benefits to our farming systems. So this paddock here at Kooloonong, we're working with Alistair Murdoch, who's a local farmer who's done a lot of work in helping us set this trial up. And yeah, what are we looking at and why are we looking at what we're doing here, Doc?
Thanks, Michael. Yeah, so what we're looking at here is we're looking at non-ripped versus ripped, and we're looking at 4 different treatments, being chickpeas, fava beans, lupins and lentils. So all pulses that we're evaluating their productivity capacity on our lighter sands, both from a short-term profitability point of view and then obviously from a long-term sustainability point of view in terms of nitrogen fixation, organic carbon, residue, all of those sorts of things.
Yeah. So what's prompted you to want to be looking at deep ripping in pulse crops?
So following some work we did with Nigel Wilhelm back in 2018, which coincided with a dry spring, we saw some very significant yield increases in wheat production it was that year. So yeah, about 100% yield increase over the non-ripped. And then been fortunate enough to have Michael in our region over the last 2 to 3 years establishing some pulse legume trials in more small plot trials and seeing some very strong yield responses, with challenging seasons. So we've started to implement a deep ripping program into our farming system, and we're probably, from some of Michael's work, we're probably seeing as big benefits, maybe if not bigger benefits, from utilising the deep ripping practice followed by a pulse rather than a cereal, and that's really helping to increase our resilience or reliability in pulse production in our soil types.
Yeah, and I guess the big question in setting up this, I guess it's a larger scale paddock demo. The aim of this project is to give us a good look at all the soil types that might be encountered in a paddock.
Yeah, so we've got dune swale formations here, so a dune in the background here, and then we've ripped all the way through our flats or our swales. We have not been able to get the same level of penetration or depth of penetration as what we have on the hills. But yeah, it's very much trying to quantify where the economic return starts and finishes. So we're more calculated with our deep ripping practice, so we're more efficient, more effective at it.
Early observations that you've seen in this paddock?
Yeah, it's a bit, maybe in the background, it's a bit hard to see with this, but yeah, definitely we're seeing certain soil types showing responses of late. And when I say of late, probably only the last week or two, but just again talking to Michael and what we've seen over the last few years, you don't tend to see that response until mid-September if you've got deep soil moisture. So yeah, we're expecting to see some, variations or increased variations in biomass from non-ripped versus ripped over the next 6 to 8 weeks leading up to harvest. So we're starting to see that already.
Obviously this year, another challenging year to run our field days and other events that might have people come along and look at these sites, but hopefully stay tuned to this trial in the future, and we'll be endeavouring to get results of what happens here and with other trials happening around the place out to you guys shortly.
Yeah, and thanks for the GRDC and Michael for doing this evaluation work. It just gives us better clarity on what we're doing, and it can definitely lead to some practice change and more resilience in our pulse production.